Robert Vaughn's career wasn't a smooth rise to stardom. It began like a typical James Bond-style show, but every year, there was a new producer, each bringing a different vision. 9 years after his death, his family discovered a hidden collection in his Connecticut estate that changed everything. Among the items were recordings from the 1970s, names of powerful people who had destroyed careers, and proof of the personal costs Vaughn had paid for his choices. Tucked inside was also a handwritten confession about his past, explaining why he had fought so hard in life. When his daughter read it aloud, she broke down. What was in that attic wasn't just history, it was the truth he had carried alone until the end. Robert Vaughn was born on November 22, 1932, in Yorkville, a modest working-class neighborhood in New York City. Most families there were German or Irish, like his own. His mother, Marcella, was a stage actress barely earning $15 a week doing off-Broadway plays. His father, Gerald, was a radio actor during the golden age of radio, working on shows like The Shadow for about $25 per episode. When the Great Depression hit between 1929 and 1932, radio budgets were slashed, Gerald's income plummeted, and he had to compete with hundreds of other actors for jobs paying as little as $5. The family moved into a tiny apartment above a bakery that smelled of fresh bread every morning, costing $12 a month, the only amount they could afford. From the earliest days of his life, Robert absorbed the world of acting. He listened to his father rehearse lines from the kitchen while the radio played nearby. By the time he was 3, the family's life was in turmoil. Gerald's drinking worsened, financial pressure crushed their marriage, and after 8 months of bitter divorce proceedings, the family's last $200 was gone, spent on lawyers and court fees. His childhood involved constant travel between his mother's Manhattan apartment and his grandparents' house in Minneapolis, a 1,200-mile journey he made 6 times a year. The trips were long and cold, but Minneapolis held a special magic. In the basement, wooden crates filled with 347 old radio scripts fascinated young Robert. He read them one by one, performing them aloud for his grandmother and her friends, mimicking characters from shows like Amos and Andy and The Lone Ranger. Acting became a way for him to escape the chaos, the bitterness of his parents, and the harsh words they said about each other. That constant tug-of-war shaped him into someone adaptable, able to fit into any room, yet left a quiet crack inside him, one he would later use to build the complex characters he portrayed on screen. In high school, theater became his lifeline. At North High in Minneapolis, he threw himself into school plays. He earned standing ovations playing Sheridan Whiteside in The Man Who Came to Dinner. His drama teacher, Miss Hartwell, noted his unusual polish for a 16-year-old who could memorize 40 pages of lines in just 2 days. To help with money, he worked delivering medicine in freezing winters, earning $8 a week. By his senior year, he had saved $156 to buy a tuxedo for a school play. His dedication paid off when he won the Minnesota State Drama Competition in 1949, playing Tom in The Glass Menagerie. Classmates recalled how seriously he took it, staying in character all day, even in math class, practicing a form of method acting without even knowing the term. In 1950, he began college at the University of Minnesota, planning to be a journalist like Edward R. Murrow. A professor noticed his talent in a campus play and recommended him for a scholarship in a prestigious theater workshop limited to just a dozen students. His performance as Creon in Antigone earned a standing ovation from 800 people, and a student newspaper called him a natural-born actor with film star potential. He changed his major to theater despite his mother's fears of financial instability. Vaughn supported himself with 3 jobs: tutoring, reading news on campus radio, and ushering at the Orpheum Theater. In 1955, with $800 from his grandfather's inheritance, he moved to Los Angeles to finish a master's degree at LA State. Within weeks, he landed a background role in The 10 Commandments, playing a Hebrew slave for $25 a day in extreme heat, carrying fake stone blocks for 18-hour shifts. He collapsed twice from dehydration but refused help, determined not to lose the job. The experience taught him how demanding the film industry was. While grabbing coffee at Schwab's Pharmacy, he met a casting director looking for fresh faces for a TV drama called Medic. He landed a tiny part as Lieutenant Tom Gower, a wounded soldier, with no lines, just a corridor scene. His presence caught viewers' attention, prompting 47 letters to NBC asking who he was. 3 casting directors contacted his agent afterward. This was the doorway into real acting work, which 5 years later led to The Magnificent Seven. Between 1955 and 1959, Vaughn's career consisted of guest roles in westerns like Gunsmoke, Wagon Train, and Have Gun, Will Travel, earning $50 to $75 per episode. Sometimes he slept in his car, but the grind built his reputation. He could play both hero and villain, making him versatile. Early film roles were small, and Broadway offered little reprieve from long hours and clashing egos. He studied method acting, enduring rejections and minor successes. In 1959, he played Chester Gwen, a physically disabled man, in The Young Philadelphians, earning an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor and a Golden Globe nomination. Hollywood recognized his potential in serious films. Despite growing recognition, he continued to work on television, learning the brutal demands of stunts and long schedules. By the end of the 1950s, he was known as dependable, skilled, and resilient. In 1960, Vaughn starred in The Magnificent Seven as Lee, a quiet gunfighter joining the crew to prove himself. Filmed in harsh conditions in Durango, Mexico, he endured bruises and long hours, bringing calm intelligence to the role. The movie's success helped all involved, though pay was uneven. Experiences like this inspired Vaughn's later advocacy for actors' rights and fair treatment. As the 1960s continued, he took on increasingly complex roles. In 1964, during the height of spy fiction, over 3,000 actors auditioned for Napoleon Solo and The Man from UNCLE, but Vaughn stood out. Producer Norman Felton offered him $3,500 per episode, a large sum at the time. His dark hair was styled to create a European sophistication to rival James Bond. The show paired an American with a Russian agent, Vaughn and David McCallum, and became a cultural phenomenon, drawing over 25 million viewers at its peak. Vaughn became a public figure, carefully managed by NBC, symbolizing the suave American man. The series spawned 2 theatrical films in 1965, during which Vaughn took on more physical work. He was not just delivering lines, he influenced the character in gadgets like the communicator pen, shaping the spy genre. The 3rd season saw a tonal shift toward campy humor, and ratings declined. The show ended during the 4th season, but Vaughn continued to evolve, taking roles in Bullitt, 1968, opposite Steve McQueen, and The Bridge at Remagen, 1969, showcasing politically sensitive material. He pursued projects that reflected serious themes, combining his craft with intellectual engagement. Throughout the 1970s, Vaughn expanded into international projects and serious television dramas. He won an Emmy for Washington, Behind Closed Doors in 1978 and appeared in Columbo multiple times. He participated in epic series like Centennial, 1978-79, and continued activism, publishing Only Victims in 1972, documenting Hollywood blacklists. He faced FBI scrutiny, IRS audits, and career setbacks, yet never retreated from speaking out. Vaughn also faced personal challenges. Alcohol use in the 1980s led to a car crash and a private rehab stay in 1985, after which he remained sober. He mentored young actors, built a library of over 3,000 books, and maintained a rich personal life. He married Linda Staub in 1974 after meeting her on a blind date. They adopted 2 daughters, Cassidy and Caitlin. Vaughn supported Matthew Vaughn emotionally for decades, even after DNA testing revealed they were not biologically related. Matthew considered him his father regardless. In his later years, Vaughn continued to work in television and film. He starred in Hustle, 2004 to 2012, overcoming insurance concerns and physical challenges at age 72. He improvised iconic moments on set, anchored series, and worked through leukemia until his death in November 2016. Even during illness, he gave performances full of vitality and humor, demonstrating commitment to his craft until the very end. Vaughn's legacy spanned film, television, activism, and academia. His career included 100 films, roles in major franchises, and ventures in theater and writing. He navigated financial setbacks, personal loss, and political pressures while shaping the American screen, leaving a legacy of integrity, versatility, and courage. His story shows the depth behind a man who was not just a movie star, but an actor, scholar, and activist who never gave up, no matter the obstacles.